Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Stock Market Technical Analysis webinar brought to you by AB Capital Securities. Tonight, Research Head Jovis Vistan will share tips and methods on how to identify and analyze stock market trends to maximize return on your investment. My name is Jam Mayer, and I'm your moderator for this session. Now, of course, before we start, we'd like to give a very short orientation to the webinar newbies. If this is the first time you've ever attended a webinar, we always expect newbies in our session. So let's just give you a few minutes just to go through the platform so you know exactly what to do. And we'd like to encourage you, of course, to participate with us. Now, as you enter the room, of course, you've noticed that you do have, or you do see the control panel. And this is where you'll have a few buttons which you can use during the session. And of course, it could appear either on your left or your right. The presentation is going to be seen there as well. That's your GoToWebinar viewer. Now, what's important, of course, is can you actually hear us? Malamang, diba, kailangan natin marinig ang speaker tonight. So if you are on an iPad, the screenshot on your left is a little bit small, but if you look at the upper right-hand corner, you can then click on the settings button and you can connect to the audio using your mic and speakers. We don't have a telephone attached, of course, to the webinar, but definitely mic and speakers is available, so using VoIP. Now, it's a little bit different when you're using your PC or Windows PC. Once you click on settings on the audio panel, you will see another window pop up, and you can now choose what headset and what speakers you are using to just test if your mic is working, and we can open that up later during the Q&A if you're not the shy type. Once you start talking, you'll see green lights going back and forth, and the speakers, of course, just click on sound and adjust the volume level. Now, lastly, for a Mac user like myself, it is a little bit different. Just make sure that you have GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar on the foreground, and the audio, of course, input and output, you can choose the microphone or your speakers. Now, please engage with us. Tonight, we'd like you to type in your comments and, of course, your questions anytime during the webinar. We do have a Q&A, of course, but in between, we might stop for a few questions just to make sure that we cover everything. There is a questions window, and just type in. And in case you have or encounter technical difficulties, I will be in the background, of course, just to help you out. In case you have issues with audio or even seeing the presentation. Now, there are a few buttons on your control panel to maximize and see the presentation in full screen mode. Just click on that square over there, or minimize the control panel. Of course, there's two black arrows up above. You can click on that. Now, you can raise your virtual hand anytime if you have any questions or any issues. By default, it is actually your virtual hands are not raised, so you'll see a green arrow, but as soon as you click on that, it will turn into red, and that means your virtual hand is actually raised. Lastly, everyone is on mute. Magkakagulo po tayo tonight in case, of course, we have all the mics open, so everyone's on mute, but we will definitely open that up during the Q&A. Now, lastly, for smoother online experience, please no downloading or streaming any videos. Please stop or close them for the session, or any chat windows or multiple browser windows. And yes, you can attend with a wireless connection, but it would be recommended if you can log in, or I should say connect with a LAN cable, and turn off or disable any programs that will use internet bandwidth. Lastly, please join us on Twitter land, as I would call it, and the hashtag, of course, is AB Capital. All right, well, enough of me talking. You guys are here not for me, but of course to hear our stock trading guru, Jovis. He is AB Capital's resident expert and vice president for research. He was also formerly the chief economist of Dharmala Securities. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jovis for tonight. Hi, Jovis. How are you?
I'm okay, Jam. How are you?
Cold actually here. It's very cold. Kamusta naman dyan? Everything seems to be okay?
We're okay. We experienced some bad weather the last couple of days, but on my end, I'm pretty good.
Okay, very good. And I just gave you presenter rights, and you can start anytime when you're ready.
Wala.
Yes, you can,
Jam?
yep, I'm still here.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Slideshow. Okay. So thank you very much, Jam. We're basically here again. This is the second part of our series of webinars that AB Capital is presenting. And as we mentioned last time, we're looking into the basics of stock market analysis. And I'd like to welcome all of our listeners right now, especially those in the Philippines. And we experienced some stormy weather recently, and a similar storm seems to be happening in the market right now. And it's very important that we be able to weather the storm by being equipped with the necessary technical tools to protect us from the storm. And one such technique is, of course, technical analysis. We've already gone through the basics of fundamentals, and right now we will be dealing purely on the basics of technical analysis today. So when we talk about analysis, basically we already dealt with the fundamental aspect of analysis, which tackles the question of what stock to buy. Now we're going to go into the timing aspect of stock market analysis, which is technical analysis. With regards to technical analysis, you don't deal with the value of a particular company or stock that is that we're analyzing. We're looking at basically the price and volume, and to come up with the analysis and prediction of the trend and future price of a particular asset, which in our case is shares of stock. By definition, technical analysis is the recording and analyzing of trading data. It deals with the collection of price and volume data and then analyzing it to be able to come up with a prediction of future prices. Now, the basic assumptions of technical analysis are three. First of all, prices move in trends. Otherwise, if prices are moving directionlessly, then it would be difficult to make any form of analysis or conclusions. Secondly, prices in the market have already discounted everything. All the fundamentals that needs to be discounted is already reflected in the share price. Thirdly, history repeats itself. Normally, when we do an analysis of a particular issue, we can always go back to the past as a reference guide and help us in terms of predicting the future of a particular issue. Now, why technical analysis? For some, they favor technical analysis over fundamental analysis because it's much easier to do technical analysis. It's very easy to determine trends and identify patterns, and it's very cheap and much faster than fundamental analysis. All you need is just a technical chart software like MetaStock or TechniStock, and you'd be able to do your analysis of any stock or asset that's listed. Okay, so it's less time consuming. It's less expensive, as I mentioned. You don't necessarily have to invest in like conducting interviews, going to the visit the companies. You can do your analysis even at home as long as you have the data and the software to do the analysis. One major disadvantage, however, of technical analysis is that you don't dwell with the fundamentals. You don't look into the business, the profitability, and the management, etc. So basically, the risk of not knowing the fundamentals behind the company is a major disadvantage for technical analysts. And you wouldn't be surprised sometimes when you analyze the chart of a blue chip company and compare it with a speculative third liner. A speculative third liner sometimes can actually have a more attractive chart than a blue chip. So you don't have that kind of protection when you do purely technical analysis over fundamental analysis. Now, what are the basic tools when you do technical analysis? And when we talk about basic, the most basic of which, of course, are the charts. These are the working tools of technical analysis. And the data that we see in charts are basically, of course, the stock price data, which is on the upper portion of the chart, volume, which is on the lower portion of the chart, and of course, key stock indicators. And enumerated in this next slide are the different types of charts that are commonly used in most of the basic stock analysis software right now. Okay. Now we're going to go through one of them one by one as quickly as possible. The most basic of all charts is the line charts, which basically are just the closing prices over a set period of time, wherein the closing prices are connected over the time frame that is being used, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. And among the type of charts, this is the one that has the least visual information given that would be reflected by the chart. The next type of chart are the bar charts. These are made up of vertical lines that are also connected in the same manner as the line chart. Now, the difference with the vertical chart is that it has more information than the line chart, which is basically just the closing price. The key information here would be the open, high, low, and closing price of the issue. The open and closing price is represented by a horizontal dash. A horizontal dash here would reflect the opening price on the horizontal dash on the left side, while the one on the right side would reflect or show the closing price for the day. Now, the high and low price for the day would be shown in the extreme top portion of the bar. I'm talking about the high for the day, while the lowest price for the day would be shown on the bottom portion of the bar. Now, this is a little bit more visual than the line chart. Okay, the next one would be the, hold on. Hindi ko ma-move.
You can, Jovis, you can actually click on the arrow, or you
Okay.
can use your page
Okay,
down.
sorry. Okay.
No worries.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Okay, the next one is a little bit more visual than the bar chart. These are the candlestick charts, which again show the open, high, low, close for the day. The difference between the candlestick and the bar chart is that it's more visual, because now instead of a thin bar, this one would normally have a body, which would be similar to a candle. That's why it's called a candlestick chart. Now, it's more visual in the sense that it gives you more information about market sentiment, because the candlestick chart would either be black or white. It can be light or dark. A darker candlestick would show negative sentiment or a bearish market, while a white candle would show a bullish market for that day. Now, the way to draw a candlestick chart is that you would first plot the open and the opening price, and the like for this example, okay, hold on, pen. Anyway, the opening price, if the closing price for the day would be higher than the opening price, the candle would be a light colored candle. Now, if the closing price for the day would be lower than the opening price, it would be a darker colored candlestick. So now, it would be more conclusive for investors to say whether the stock is positive or bearish. No? If you have a series of black candles, it would show extreme negative sentiment for the issue. Okay, page down. Okay, the next type of chart are the point and figure charts. This one is less popular right now after with the advent of computer charting softwares. This was really more common in the past when people would tend to draw on their notebooks the charts. This one has less concern about volume and time. In fact, you don't have an axis for volume as shown by the chart. It tries to take away noise or insignificant price movements. And point and figure charts are represented by a series of X and O's. So the X's would represent an upward price movement, while the O's would represent a decline. So normally if you have a series of, let's say, three consecutive X's, it would show a bullish market, while a series of three consecutive O's would represent a downward moving market. The next type of chart is an equivolume chart. Pretty much similar to the candlestick, except that it doesn't have the shadows, the upper and the high and low price for the day. This would take into consideration the price range. But the beauty of the equivolume chart is that it incorporates into the chart the volume, which would be shown by the width of the candle. So meaning when the equivolume chart has a very high range, as shown by the height of the chart, accompanied by strong volume, which would be reflected by the width of the chart, then that would be very bullish. So meaning there's a strong interest in the issue as reflected by a high price range and high volume, as an example. But it gets better with the next type of chart. The next type of chart is the candle volume chart, which now takes into consideration the characteristics of a candlestick chart, which I mentioned a while ago, would be reflected by the shade of the candle. A dark colored shade would be bearish, a light colored candle would be bullish. So now this would incorporate the interpretive power of the candlestick plus volume as shown by the width. So this is an improvement over the equivolume type of chart. Next are the Kagi charts. This is a Japanese type of chart wherein we have thick and thin lines called the yang and the yin line. The thick lines are basically like the point and figure charts. These are like the X's, which are bullish, while the yin line are sell downs. So normally you change from a thin to thick line. But in this example, you change from thin to thick by going from red to blue. And from thick to thin, it becomes from blue to red. That's just as an example. Normally you buy when the Kagi chart turns blue and sell when it turns red. And the trigger for you to change from red to blue would normally be a reversal amount. And the default and most common used reversal amount in technical analysis when it comes to Kagi charts right now is 4%. Next are the Renko charts. Now these are again like the point and figure charts. Doesn't take into consideration time and volume. It's basically constructed by placing a brick in the subsequent column once the price of a certain stock would surpass the top or bottom of the previous week by a predetermined amount. And again, this, for example, if the predetermined amount is 5 pesos, stock is doing 100 pesos, it goes up to 105, then you'll put a reversal break, so on and so forth. So you have to come up with a predetermined amount, no, to in drawing the bricks. By the way, Renko is a Japanese chart again, and it means brick, which is why they use the term bricks. No? Again, like candlestick, the white colored bricks are used when the direction of the trend is going up, while the darker ones are used when the trend is going down. Lastly, the three-line break charts, again, pretty much similar to the point and figure charts. It's a series of white and black bars, no? Which would represent rising prices for the light-colored ones and declining prices for the black lines. Now, this one, you would construct a white bar only when the price manages to exceed whether the high or low of the prior two bars. So that's why it's the third line would be the reversal line. That's why it's called a three-line break chart. You buy when a white line would emerge after 3 consecutive black lines and vice versa. Okay, so those are the type of charts. Now we go to the analysis proper. Now the most important part of analyzing a chart of a stock is, of course, to determine the trend. The trend is basically just the general direction of a stock, whether it's going up or down. An uptrend is a series of higher highs, while a downtrend is one which is comprised of lower lows. No? So the type of trends are uptrend, downtrends, or a sideways trending market or stock. Now, when you talk about trends in terms of time frame, then they are classified according to primary, secondary, and minor trends. Now, trends can be drawn either via trend channels or just purely trend lines. Now, we're going to discuss about the type of trends according to time frame. And the most important type of trend, of course, would be the long-term trend. And that's the primary trend, which would last usually 2 to 3 years. And the primary trend has 3 phases. The accumulation phase, the participation phase, and the excess phase. The first phase is the most difficult to identify because this is the point wherein the trend is just beginning. This is the point where investors are just beginning to come in for a bullish trend or exit for a bearish trend. This is the point wherein everything seems, all the negatives or positives seem to have already been priced in, and there's nowhere to go but for the stock except for it to reverse. The public participation phase is the phase of the primary trend wherein investors have already come in, the business conditions of the market has already turned for the better or worse, whatever the case would be, and all the news have started to come into the market and more investors are coming in. It's the longest lasting and has the largest price movement in the primary trend. The last phase of the primary trend is the stage where the market seemed to have already topped out or bottomed, wherein it is at this point in time where technical analysts are looking for any signs of reversal in the market or any signs of weakness in the primary trend. This is a visual of the 3 phases of the primary trend: the accumulation trend, the participation, and the excess phase of the primary trend. Now, the secondary trend are basically the correction phase of the market. So this is a point wherein the market is going the reverse way, no, from the primary trend, wherein it's usually very short. It could be as short as 3 weeks to 2 months, no? But normally it's just a retracement of the primary trend. And this is an example of some minor corrections or trends within the primary trend. Okay, the last type of trend, which is called the minor trends, are unimportant. They're usually meaningless, but normally just a corrected move within the secondary trend. And this would normally last for days or as long as just 3 weeks. Now, given the identification of the trend, we also need more confirmation, and normally confirmation would come in the form of volume. Volume tend to be high, should be high when the price movements are along the lines of the primary trend, and should be less significant during corrections. Now, volume is also needed to confirm during very important pivotal moments of the chart pattern, particularly during breakouts. Now, as an example, this is a chart of a stock that broke down from its uptrend line. This one was further strengthened by the fact that the breakdown of the trend line was accompanied by very strong volume, as shown by the lower portion of this chart. Now, being able to identify support and resistance levels are also very important, given that you know the trend, you have the ability to identify with the primary and secondary trends, so you have to identify key support levels where you can come in, or resistance levels where you can take profits. Now, support and resistance levels are basically driven by supply and demand. Now, supply is very synonymous to resistance, while demand for stocks is synonymous with support. Now, a very important thing to remember also with regards to support resistance is the reversal of roles, of support and resistance. When a particular support or resistance level is broken, normally it will function as the opposite. For example, if support level is broken, it tends to become a resistance and vice versa. And to identify support and resistance levels, one of the common ways of doing that, as I mentioned just now, is to look at the old support levels that were broken. For example, a support level is broken, normally a stock would break down. It will become a resistance level because there's a tendency for those who thought that the support level will hold and bought into the issue. Now, when there's a rally back to the old support level, which now becomes resistance, they would want to sell out and at least break even at the old support level. That's why there would be resistance at that old support level. Now, resistance can become support because for those who thought that the stock would not go up upon hitting resistance, but were disappointed to find out that it eventually broke out, would want to buy back the shares that they sold at that same price. That's why when the stock that breaks out of resistance corrects back to the old resistance level, it now becomes a support level because those who thought they sold too early will be buyers in the market. So that's a sort of a quick explanation of the reversal of lows of support and resistance levels. Other means of identifying support and resistance is to look at the high and low of certain trading ranges. As shown by this chart, the red line would reflect the resistance levels, and the blue lower lines are the support levels, which are very easy to identify. Another way is to look at the trend channels. You can easily find support and resistance within the trend channels, but unlike the rectangular trading range, this one with the support and resistance levels would be moving targets together with the trend lines, whether they're moving up or down. Like in this case, the support and resistance levels are moving downwards because the stock is on a downtrend. Now, resistance is also very evident on trades with very high volume. Like in this case, the extreme left portion of this chart, you would see some high volume of trades during that period of time. Okay, and when the stock rallied back, as you would see on the right side of the chart, it encountered resistance at that, as shown by the blue line. So those trades with high volume would reflect a lot of supply of investors who would want to get out at break-even. Pretty much the same explanation as I mentioned a while ago on the reversal of roles in the market. We also find support and resistance levels on moving averages. Like in this case, the moving averages are the blue and red lines, and you could see very strong support levels before. This is for the, I think, the PSEi. The blue lines, we always find support at the 50-day exponential moving average. There are times also that the market would form gaps during extreme trading sessions wherein the market are either extremely bullish or extremely bearish. Normally the volume there is very high. That's why when the market would rally or pull back to the gaps, we would find support and resistance levels also on days that there are gaps. And then there are Fibonacci retracement levels. These are Fibonacci retracement levels are either 31.8% retracement, 50% retracement. Those are the more common retracement levels where we find support and resistance. And lastly, round numbers. These are more psychological support resistance levels. Like for example, I think the market hit 7,300 as a resistance. We managed to hold support initially at 7,000, 6,500. So round numbers normally also provide psychological support and resistance levels. Now, we mentioned about being able to identify the end of a primary trend, and we need to understand or identify chart patterns to be able to predict whether a stock is going to continue or reverse. So chart patterns are two major types, the reversal and continuation patterns. And some of the reversal patterns will be presenting it today along with the different types of continuation patterns. The most common reversal pattern is the head and shoulder formation. And this is a major reversal top. It can either be a head and shoulder top or a inverted head and shoulder, which is a bullish reversal formation. Either way, it consists of a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder, plus a neckline. So in the left shoulder, normally it's an extensive move where volume is usually high. This would be followed by a pullback on low volume. Then it would find support at a certain area, which would eventually form the neckline. Upon correction, the stock would rally again and form a higher high, which would eventually be the head of this head and shoulder formation. And again, the volume for the head could either be just a normal volume or also heavy volume. But the correction after reaching its peak would be on very low volume. And the head would find support again on the same neckline area where the left shoulder found its support level. And this would be followed by the formation of the right shoulder, which is basically an upward movement again, but this time it would fail to make another higher high or not move near the high of the head. So more often than not, it would be approximately the same level as the left shoulder. And this would again be followed by a pullback to the neckline. The head and shoulder formation would be confirmed once the neckline is broken after the formation of the head and shoulder. And the target of the head and shoulder would be basically the height from the neckline to the peak of the head. And you would just deduct it from the neckline price level to arrive at the price level target for the head and shoulder formation. We also have the double top or bottom or triple top or bottom, which basically is a pattern made up of 2 or 3 consecutive peaks or bottoms. Okay. This normally are separated by at least a month in terms of time frame. The confirmation would happen upon breakout of a key support or resistance, meaning it's usually a trading range, and the breakout target would be the height of the double top or triple top or bottom, whatever the case would be. Next is a rounding top or bottom. This is a reversal formation, which is normally characterized. The key here is being able to identify the volume, which should normally track the shape of the rounding formation. So normally volume is high on the left portion of the rounding bottom, and also on the right portion of the rounding bottom or top. And volume should be high, usually upon breakout of that rounding bottom or top. A variation of the rounding bottom is a cup and handle formation, which is basically a pattern that resembles a cup and handle, wherein a rounding bottom would be followed by a period of consolidation or a slight pullback or correction. This one would normally be more bullish because it would be a period of consolidation or a pause from the recent rally, which would provide a support base when the chart would break out eventually from the cup and handle formation. Unlike the rounding bottom, when this would be a failed breakout, the correction would normally be deeper because there's no consolidation support area similar to the handle that the cup and handle has. And like the rounding bottom formation, the breakout should be accompanied by high volume. The target of the cup and handle would be the height of the cup added to the neckline portion of the cup and handle. Now we go to the continuation patterns. The continuation patterns are normally just a pause from the current trend, and after the pause there would be a continuation of the prior trend. The first pattern that we will be talking about is the wedge pattern. This is normally the volume for the wedge pattern would diminish up during the formation of the wedge, because as we mentioned a while ago, this is a pullback normally seen in a secondary trend, and the confirmation of the wedge pattern will happen upon the breakout of the wedge. It can either be a rising or a falling wedge. The next continuation patterns are what we would call the triangles. So these are the ascending, descending triangles, and the symmetrical triangles. First, the symmetrical triangle is a pattern that basically is a converging formation wherein we have at least 2 lower highs and 2 higher lows. And the apex, very near the apex portion of the symmetrical triangle, you would see that would be the point of breakout more often than not. Now, the ascending triangle, the difference between the ascending triangle and descending triangle to a symmetrical triangle is that they're also converging, except that there's a flat portion. Like in the case of the ascending triangle, it has a flat top, but it's accompanied by higher lows. Upon the breakout of the resistance level, which is the horizontal top here, you would see a continuation of the rally. Same for a descending triangle. It's a flat support level accompanied by a descending top. The next continuation pattern are what we call the flags and pennants. These are pretty much similar to the wedge pattern, and it would resemble a flag. That's why it's called a flag pattern. It's a small consolidation or pullback after a sharp advance or decline. And again, the volume should be heavy during the portion where it's forming the flagpole. And the corresponding correction after the formation of the flagpole should be lower, and the volume would pick up only upon breakout of the flag. And these are the bullish flag pattern in an uptrend, and an inverted flag pattern which is bearish in a downtrend, and the same for a pennant. Now, there are indicators that would also help us in terms of confirming, besides volume, a trend or the strength of the trend. And one of those that we normally use as a supplement are the moving averages, which are generally used to measure the strength of the market's trend and momentum, and also to provide possible area for support and resistance. There are two types of moving averages, the simple moving average and the exponential moving average. Moving averages can also be used in terms of giving buy and sell signals. This could be the case when two moving averages are used together. A bullish buy signal is generated when the shorter moving average would cross a longer moving average. This is known as a bullish golden cross, while a sell signal could be generated when the shorter moving averages goes below the longer term moving average. A major indicator that investors use, particularly for those stocks that are trending, is the MACD. It helps you spot changes in strength, momentum of a trend in the stock price. There are basically two lines in an MACD line. One is the MACD line itself, which is the solid line, and the signal line, which is normally in the form of a dash line. Then MACD is the difference between a fast exponential moving average and a slow exponential moving average. The signal line or the average line, on the other hand, is the exponential moving average of the MACD line. And buy signals are generated when the MACD line crosses above the signal line. A variation of the MACD is the MACD histogram, which offers deeper insight. It shows the strength of the bulls or the bears in a particular issue. The formula for the MACD histogram is basically the difference between the MACD and the signal line, and it's plotted as a histogram. So if the MACD is above the signal line, the histogram is positive and plotted above the zero line. If the MACD is below the signal line, the histogram is obviously negative and it's below the zero line. So normally when the MACD histogram is above zero, that's an indication that the bulls are in control as far as the market is concerned. Now if the MACD histogram is below the zero line, it's the bears that are in control. Now if you're looking at a stock that's not trending, the indicators that we normally use are the oscillators. And the oscillators are commonly used whether a stock is either overbought or oversold while moving within its trading range. It's overbought when the stock is already running out of steam, as shown by the weak volume, and oversold when the stock seems to have already bottomed out. And the most common oscillator that's being used in the market is the relative strength index. The range for the RSI is normally between 30 to 70. 30 would be the level where the stock is already oversold, while an RSI above 70 would show a stock that's extremely overbought. How do you use the RSI? There are three ways of trading the RSI. One is by looking for divergences. chart patterns. We also have chart patterns for RSI, and the level of the RSI, whether it's overbought or oversold. These are examples of divergences for the RSI. You have a bullish divergence followed by a bearish divergence on the left chart. No? And we also have buy and sell signals as indicated by the level of the RSI after going to oversold levels and going to overbought levels at 30 and 70. Now, having discussed the basics of technical analysis, we'll try to apply it to the PSEi. Now, we'd like to note that these are charts as of the last trade last week. If you remember, we talked about the type of charts. One, we will discuss two of them here, no? The Japanese candlestick and the Kagi chart. And the market actually showed some signs of topping out last May when we rallied to the record highs, as shown by this weekly chart of the PSEi. You will see at the extreme top portion of this chart two spinning tops. Huh? These are candlestick charts which would normally show a potential top. Now, when we talk about candlesticks, I mentioned a while ago that candlesticks are the most visual. It gives you a quick glance or interpretation of the market just purely by looking at the candles. But discussing the different types of candles would be one separate webinar by itself. No? But I just like to show these candles which have two upper shadows which are very long, and it only means that the market tried to rally but experienced sell-offs or profit taking in those 2 consecutive weeks, which showed a potential top. And this was followed by 4 consecutive black candles which showed extreme bearish sentiments for the market after failing to break out. Now, this is a Kagi chart of the PSEi, and Kagi tends to keep you in the market long term. In fact, there was a buy signal when the market turned from red to blue at around the 4,000 level in 2011, and there was no sell signal in the market until recently, when the market went down to 6,600. Just this year. So meaning if you use Kagi charts, no, to buy and sell, you would have bought in 2011 at 4,000 and held on till it reached 6,600 before the Kagi chart gave a sell signal. Okay, now we look into the trend analysis of the PSEi, and obviously the PSEi has managed to stay within its primary uptrend. There was some secondary pullbacks recently, as shown by this corrective secondary trend, followed by a sideways movement, which is the minor trend, following the secondary trend. Now, this did not include the trading today, which showed a massive sell-off in the market today. Now, looking for support and resistance levels, as shown by the trend line. I mentioned about support and resistance within the trend line. The trend line support for the PSEi is at around 6,000, the 6,000 level. So as long as we stay above 6,000, the trend line will still remain intact. Support resistance levels as per the moving average. The 1-year moving average support level of 6,200 was broken today. Okay. So now resistance based on the moving average is at 6,600. Now, if you're basing it on Fibonacci retracement levels, the support for the PSEi based on the 31.8% retracement is at 6,000, which coincides with the support level of the trend channel. Now, looking at chart patterns, the PSEi has actually formed a head and shoulder top formation, which unfortunately today we broke the neckline. We broke the neckline, and the target the head and shoulder formation will continue to hold true and we don't see any whipsaw or a technical rebound tomorrow, the worst case scenario based on the head and shoulder formation is around 5,350. Within the secondary trend of the PSEi, we managed to see an inverted flag formation, and this inverted flag formation also broke down today when the market sold off, has a target of 5,700. So based on those two reversal formations, we're seeing a worst case scenario of between 5,350 to 5,700. The MACD indicator actually gave a sell signal around 2 weeks ago, even before the sell-off of the market today, pretty close to the top of the right shoulder of this head and shoulder formation. Now, in conclusion, using what we learned today in the webinar, these are the conclusions. There were some signs of a top last May with the two spinning tops that had long upper shadows on the weekly chart. The primary trend is still okay, it's still intact, but we believe that based on the three phases of the primary trend, we strongly believe that we're very close to the excess stage of the primary trend. Now, in terms of reversal and continuation patterns, we managed to detect two reversal patterns. One reversal pattern, which is the head and shoulder reversal, and a continuation pattern within a secondary trend called the inverted flag formation. And the targets of, as I mentioned, is 5,350 and 5,700. But I think the first support level that we need to break first would be the 6,000 support of the trend channel, which is also the Fibonacci retracement of the PSEi. So these are the support and resistance levels for the market and their respective explanations. So given that, Jem, that's the end of my presentation. Either I pass it on to Rick or take on some questions.
Yep, and thank you very much, Jovis, for that. Just for the audience, of course, tonight, feel free to join us on Twitter, of course. If you have a Twitter account, the hashtag is #ABCapital. If not, you can also type in your questions or your comments over on the questions window on your control panel. There is one question, but I believe this might be a Rick question, more on the IT and the website side, but Michael Bryan was asking, do you have Kagi charts? And I think this is more for the platform.
No, I believe we don't have Kagi charts at the moment, but eventually we will have it. Kagi is not that popular right now, but it's available on most of the technical trading softwares like MetaStock and Omni Broker, I think so. But I use MetaStock for sure. MetaStock has Kagi charts.
Okay, and I might have to ask Gerard to make sure or just tell us which part or which section of the session that he's referring to. He is asking, what level do you think will be the bottom of this current correction? Gerard, if you can type it in, or we can actually open up your mic as well to explain further. But Jovis, feel free if you can answer this question at this point.
Well, I mentioned a while ago about the targets based on the chart formations that I saw. I believe that 6,000 will be a strong support level at the moment. But right now the market is being driven more by fundamentals than technicals. And we have a major catalyst in terms of the U.S. Fed's change of heart in terms of monetary policy. So it depends, no? But right now, as long as the trend remains intact, 6,000 is a strong support level. it's a support level in terms of the Fibonacci retracement. It's the support level of the trend channel, and that's at the same time it's a round number support. So for now, I'd like to peg the bottom of 6,000, but I'm not discounting a possible breakdown. No? If you break down 6,000, I'd go 5,700, which is the target of the inverted flag formation.
Okay, and thank you for that. We will take up Michael's question a little bit later, probably after Rick's presentation. And okay, so Jovis, I will just turn it over the presentation rights to Rick. And of course, for the audience tonight, we have Rick Enriquez, and he is the Vice President for IT. He will spend a few minutes just going through the website and the software, of course. And let me just double check here. And Rick, hi, good evening, and thank you for joining us. We'll give you presenter rights in a few seconds. Hi, Rick.
Okay. Hi, Jan.
Okay, whenever you're ready, of course. As we wait for Rick to show his browser, I think there is another question, Jovis, from Norma. So she asks, at the candlestick, will you discuss where to buy and close the position?
Definitely you can, but candlestick standalone as a tool to look for bottom or tops are for me too risky. It should be supplemented by indicators like as I mentioned, the oscillators or MACD, and also trend lines or trend channels.
Okay, and right. And Norma did mention, no problem, Norma. And another, before we move forward with Rick, another question from Russell. With the sell down today, would you recommend to hold on to currently owned stocks or sell tomorrow if 6,000 support is broken?
If you are a short-term trader, I would be willing to cut losses and buy back at lower prices if the 6,000 level will break down, because that's a very important psychological support level. So I think the selling pressure would pick up upon breaking down from that key support level. But if you're a long-term investor holding on to key blue chip issues, I think the country's fundamentals are still solid. It's really more of external risk, no? That's putting pressure on the market. I'd go long. So it depends on the time frame, whether you're a long-term or short-term investors.
Okay, and thank you for that. All right, so apologies, I said browser. It is actually a PowerPoint presentation. Jovis, we will come back to you later during the Q&A for more questions. And for the audience, again, feel free to join us on Twitter with the hashtag ABCapital, or you can just type in your questions while we go through presentation with Rick. Rick, go right ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Tonight I'm going to give you a quick preview of our online trading platform. And this is our website. You can access our website at www.abcapitalonline.com or www.abcapitalsecurities.com.ph. Our system provider is TechniStack Philippines Inc. As we all know, TechniStack is the Philippines' leading provider of investment tools for financial professionals. In our homepage, we have incorporated all the essential information that the new clients would like to know about online trading. These are the getting started, wherein you have the how to open an account, rates and fees, how to fund your account, deposit alert, and account opening forms. For the FAQs, we have also the about online trading, how to trade, about research, fees, securities, and other services. And we have also the tools, contact us, about us. Since these are most of them are self-explanatory, I won't be discussing them in details. We'll jump to the major features of the online trading system. Okay, one of the features is the 7-day free trial. Now, if you click this button, you fill out this one-page registration form, and in a few minutes, you'll get a system-generated username and password. With this, you'll be able to access our website immediately, and you'll have a glimpse of what's inside our web trading system. Okay, how do you open an account? You can open an account in 3 ways. No? You can sign up online by clicking this button, and just fill out the form, print and sign the form online, assemble these forms, and submit these to our head office or any of our branches in Binondo, Alabang, Cebu, Bacolod, or Dagupan. In the registration form, you can choose your own username and password. Now, how secure is our website? Okay, we use 128-bit encryption protection through Secure Socket Layer, or the SSL. This is to ensure that transmission to and from our online trading site are protected against unauthorized access or intrusion. Now, let's log into our system. Just key in your username and password here and click the login button. Now we have the home page. Okay. In the home page, we have the latest reports, these are the reports from our research group. Oops. Sorry. And we have also announcements on the middle one. Like this one, we have an announcement that there will be no trading on August 26, and the PSEi market news. Now we have on the main page, we have also the account info. On the left side is the place where you can change your username and you can change your password. Sorry. On the right side, you can update your profile. You can change your email address or your address here. About us is more about our company. Contact us. These are the information where you can email us, the addresses of our branches and others. Now we go to the fund transfer request. Okay, if you want to withdraw your funds from your online account, just fill this up and click the confirm button, and we will send you an email to your registered email address requesting you to confirm the accuracy of your fund transfer request. We will process your fund transfer request only upon receipt of your confirmation. Okay, if you made a deposit, we advise you to click this link, the deposit alert. This will enable us to monitor your deposit with us. Okay, another features of the online trading system is the tools. Now, if you click the market monitor here, you can monitor all the stocks you like. It will be an online prices. And another tool is the hit alert, wherein you will be alerted in case the stock you indicated is hit, the price is hit. Another tool is the pop-up ticker. This is an online ticker wherein you can move this ticker anywhere in the window. Now if you click the display and click trade ticker, the ticker will be placed on the top of the window. Okay, if you click the charts, we have static charts as discussed by Jovis, there will be line, candlestick, and others. The research will be company data, wherein all the stocks in the PSE, you can inquire or get the information, just indicating the stock code and click the go button. Okay, the AB Cup reports are the reports being prepared by our research group. Like this one is prepared on August 15. Example of this is this one. Okay, if you click codes under the main code, we have 6. You can indicate 6 stocks, wherein you can view the bid and ask price of this specific stock. Not only only 6, but also 30 stocks you can view on this page. Stock info is the individual information, wherein you just indicate the stock code in the stock code box and just click the go button. Here you'll be able to view the bid, ask the buyer and sellers of this specific stock. Under codes, you can view the broker's info, the market stats, and the market indices for the certain date. Okay, if you are more on technical analysis, this page is for you. And this one is the news. Here we have the PSE and the TechniStock news. Now, if you click the display and click the extended view, if you have a resolution of 1280 by 700, you can view the watch list and the quick trade view. Now, another features of the trading stock system is the trade calculator, stock symbol, and word lot. If you click trade calculator, you'll have sort of a calculator wherein you can indicate the buy and the sell, which gives you the net income of this stock. Okay, the stock symbol is just a guide for you for the if you're not familiar with the stock symbol of the stock. And the board lot is also here. Okay. Now in trading, under new order, you can trade the normal trades, the add lot, and the iceberg. Under term, you can choose day order or GTW, or this is for 7 calendar days, and GTM is for 29 calendar days. Okay. If you trade like this one, it's Meralco at 300 quantity at 280. Although the last price is 294, you can change the price in this page and click the preview order. If you click the preview order, you'll be asked to indicate your password, and the order will be queued for processing. Again, the posting will take you only few seconds. Once posted, you click the view orders, and you'll have a view of what you ordered. Okay, take note the status of the order. It's O. In this case, O is open, meaning it's still pending. It's on queue at the PSE. Okay, and this is your portfolio. Here you'll be able to view your cash and buying power, as well as your stock position. In the stock position, you have the average cost, number of shares, the market value, total cost, and it will also show you the profit and loss of your position. Okay, if you want to cancel an order, you just click the view order, go to click the button and click the cancel order link, and you'll be asked again to indicate your password. Once you indicated your password, you can now view your order that the order has been canceled. Okay, and if you go back to your view order, you can you'll notice that your buying power is to the same amount as your cash balance. Okay, the system also allows you to place your orders even beyond trading hours. However, orders placed beyond the official trading hours or non-trading day will be placed on queue for posting the succeeding trading day. Okay, I think that's it. That's the end of my presentation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rick, for that. Now, before you stay put, and I will actually go through the questions here. We do have a few on the technical side. So Wendell just mentioned that she got her trial account. Is it possible to change your username?
No, it's a system-generated username, password. You can access it only within 7 trading days.
Okay, all right. So you can't change a username. Sorry, Wendell.
No.
And Michael is asking, hi, I have an AB Capital account and I noticed that the charts are not updating real time, but updates at the end of the trading day. So the question is there a plan on upgrading the charting system? That would really be a big help.
It's supposed to be updated online. Anyway, we'll ask our provider, TechniStack, about this.
Okay, perfect. So you're saying, Rick, just to clarify, it should be updating real time, correct?
Yes, it should be. Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Is there like a support, team, or can they email in case it's not updating on their side so that
yeah, just email our customer service. It's customer service at abcapital.com.ph.
Okay, all right. So support at abcapital.com.ph.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me just double check here. Okay, so Jenny, we will answer your question behind the scenes, of course. She was just asking how to open an account, and you've already gone through that, so we'll just answer that in the background. Let me just double check. Okay, so since there are no technical questions thus far, I will keep your mic open though, and I will open up Jovis's mic for our Q&A session. It starts now, but before we do that, I'd like to acknowledge, of course, the presence of Bert Santos, who is the president of AB Capital. He is joining us tonight as another panelist. So just in case Jovis or Rick is unable to answer, or he would also like to add more input to your questions, then he is also available. Good evening, Bert, and thanks for joining us for this session. Okay, and I think, yep, I'm not so sure if you're near Jovis or if you're near Rick.
No, I'm in a separate room.
Okay, all right. Okay, I will just mute your mic because I can hear feedback and I can hear myself. But in case you would like to give your input or any additional comments on any questions, just let me know and I'll unmute your mic. All right, okay.
Muted.
Put that there. Okay, Jovis, so Mark is asking, he is planning to buy stocks in SunTrust. What should be at least my old entry point? Thanks.
Well, SunTrust is a unique case, Jam. The technical analysis tools that we mentioned a while ago are for issues that have traded regularly on consistent volume. The case of SunTrust, this was a stock that hardly traded and suddenly saw some buying interest sometime last week after it announced a planned issuance of stock rights, 2.5 for every one issue at 1 peso. It hasn't continued to go up, actually go up by as much as 50% per day. It's a very speculative trade, and I think there could be some trading play that or inside information that's driving the stock. I would be worried on trading issues of such high volatility unless there would be better clarification or more disclosures coming from the company. So I think technical analysis could be used, but I think with a lot of caution on such an issue that's moving as volatile as SunTrust.
Okay. Just before I go on to the next question, I hope there is someone in the audience who's not the shy type. We would love to hear your voices. If you would like to do that, then I will open up your mic. So just let me know, raise your virtual hand so I know to actually bring you into the Q&A session and we will open up your mic. Okay. Another one from Gerard. He does say that thank you for answering his first question earlier. Do you recommend stocks that are in the RSI oversold level for a buy signal? And what are your stocks to keep for the coming year?
I would, no, if there is a reversal signal. The reversal signals for stocks that are trading at oversold levels would normally come in the form of the RSI breaking 30, meaning moving up from oversold levels on above average volume for one. Secondly, ideally, if there would be some bullish candlestick formations that would accompany the rise in the RSI from oversold levels. So basically, that's from a technical standpoint. It would be even better if this would be supported by either a MACD or a stock oscillator buy signal, depending whether the stock is trending or moving sideways.
All right. Okay, we have a question for Rick or Jovis. You can also answer this. This is more of opening an account. From Mark Jason. I opened an account last August 15, but I believe he hasn't received any confirmation. Rick or Jovis, how many days does he need to wait for the approval?
Once the documents are complete, probably 3 to 4 days.
Around 3 to 4 days. Okay. And
Yes.
is there, by the way, minimum investment of how much to open an account?
Yeah, the minimum is 10,000 pesos. There's no maintaining balance. No?
Okay. So 10,000 pesos to open the account. Okay, let me just double check here. All right. Another question. This is acceptable. And do you have a bank that they can deposit and transfer online? Say Anthony's asking like Metro Bank for First Metro.
Yes, we have 3 banks. We have Metro Bank, BPI, and BDO. You can apply for an online fund transfer, and I think it can be done.
Okay. All right. So Anthony, I hope that helps you out. Another one for Rick, actually, from Christian. When depositing money, how many hours would it appear on my buying power or on my portfolio?
Once you made the deposit, like a cash, no, to our bank, and inform us through the deposit alert, in an hour or 2, you can credit your online account. Online. Yeah.
In an hour or 2. Well, it's pretty fast.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay, for Jovis, is there a TA way to forecast or anticipate a movement like sun? No indicator whatsoever yet. It just rose up. From Henry.
Yes, SunTrust run-up last week was surprising. There was no uh, amount of technical indicator that would foresee such a run-up. So I agree. There was no indicator, no? But the way I would have approached it is that I would look at the volume. Normally, a sharp run-up in the price accompanied by volume would have some follow-through in terms of buying. That was such the case for SunTrust. Secondly, I would look at some key resistance levels. I mentioned a while ago in the webinar in terms of how to identify support and resistance. And I recall SunTrust had some resistance at around 60 centavos, which it easily broke out from. This was followed by another resistance at around 90 centavos, which again it easily broke out. So strong breakout of resistance on volume for those who are risk takers, speculative traders who are willing to buy and trade purely on the chart. You can actually take such a risk, use technical analysis as your protection. And remember what I said about the reversal of roles with regards to support and resistance. Once the resistance is broken, you can use that resistance as the support level for your potential cut loss price in case it goes back down below that old resistance which has become support. And I guess also try to look at disclosures from the company to better understand why the share price is going up.
Thank you for that. Okay. This is a general question. Anyone can answer it. Do you have AB Capital Securities in Iloilo City? Ruby is asking.
As far as I know, right now we don't have an official branch at Iloilo. I think we're exploring possibilities of opening branches in areas which we believe we would have a market for investors, and Iloilo I think should be one of them.
Okay, very good. So from Jenny Pearl, how do you prioritize allocation of IPOs? Can new account holders be allocated for such?
Allocation of IPOs, yes, I think we would normally send emails also for online accounts, no, for those who would want to make reservations. But of course, the allocation of IPOs would depend on the amount of shares that each broker would be allocated to also.
Okay. And let's see. Now from Russell again, any target date for viewing history of trades to be up and running? I think this is a question for Rick.
Yeah, probably in a month from now. Again, we'll have to ask our provider about this.
Okay, so that's a month, Russell. And from Hazel, is there a functionality on the website that tells you about your dividends that has come or has been received in your account?
Right now, none.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Hazel, none at this time. And I think, yes, Bert, go right ahead. You'd like to add to answer the question earlier about IPOs, I believe?
Yeah, Jam, the question with respect to how do we allocate or distribute IPOs. As Jovis mentioned, each broker is given a certain amount of shares of each IPO it can distribute to its client base. The way we've done it, and we've always done it, is we do it as a proportion of the volume of business or trades that a client has done, say over a period of a year. We take a look at that and we try to distribute the shares proportionately to the extent possible. What I want to stress, however, is that as far as AB Capital Securities is concerned, we never keep any shares for our own account. Everything is given out to all our clients. We don't keep any shares for ourselves.
Thank you for that, Bert. Okay. A few more questions from Henry again. How much percentage gain or percentage loss do you recommend for selling a stock?
I think he's referring to a cut loss, right? Well, it depends on the investor or trader. No? Usually it would be around 5 to 10%.
Okay, 5 to 10%. Another question for Jovis from Michael again. What's your top 3 stocks fundamentally or technically until the end of this year?
I would stick to the blue chip companies, the bluest of the blue. For one, we love Jollibee Foods Corporation very much. It's one of the best managed companies in Asia. Everything it's a cash-rich company. All of the transactions in cash, has a very strong balance sheet, and has one of the highest return on equity among listed companies. Secondly, we believe strongly in the property sector, and in the midst of the market correction right now, we want to stick to the biggest, bluest property company, and that's of course Ayala Land. And my third pick would be Alliance Global Inc. I think it's one of the best conglomerates, well diversified with good exposure in property, leisure, and I think it's very fairly valued. No, in fact, it's one of the cheapest conglomerates listed in the Philippines right now.
All right, and a few more questions. I know we are going over time for a few minutes, but we have a few more questions. We can extend a little bit. Now, Mark is asking. He sent the requirements already. Received an email. Has some questions need to be answered, and he has replied. Does he need to wait for the confirmation before he can log into his account?
The procedure is once we have the documents and the deposit, then we will send an email that the account is opened, activated.
All right. Okay. Now, and Jovis, Michael, Brian said, "Wow, thanks for the transparency," Jovis with a smiley. Okay. All right. So for Jovis and or Bert, any insights on SMC price movements?
Well, SMC's price movements recently has been dampened by a lot of negative publicity, particularly whether rightly or wrongly, it's really the market's perception, following some recent media write-ups lambasting the company for its balance sheet. Well, right now San Miguel has reacted, and they believe that they are not in a position wherein they would be in high risk of default. As in fact, the company has shown confidence by announcing a share buyback program in the midst of the sell-off in the share price recently. But I think there is some concern, some valid concern, particularly if you look at the company's debt ratios. But the good thing about San Miguel is that I think they're taking some risks, believing that eventually the risk that they're taking right now will translate to better returns, no? Because most of the investments that they've gone into are high capex extensive investments like tollways, airports, and power. And this would, of course, entail a lot of borrowings, fresh capital infusions, which in the near term would make San Miguel's balance sheet well as it is right now. But eventually, in the long run, we believe that if they play their cards correctly, perhaps dispose some assets which are non-performing, San Miguel should be able to recover.
Okay, good insight. Now, how about your thoughts on banking stocks, MBT, BPI, or BDO?
Well, the banking issues right now are underperforming the market. Even before the market pulled back recently, because most of the banks' income have been coming from trading gains, and the markets actually benefited from the low interest rate environment, which benefited both the money market and the equities markets. So right now, I think there are some valid concerns with regards to the sustainability of such strong profit growth, given the fact that we're beginning to see a reversal in terms of the outlook for interest rates, and thus it creates some doubts with regards to that. So I think unless we show some strong indications in terms of lending growth, the traditional bank income side, I think banks would lag a little, but I think eventually up to a certain point wherein we would see some very good values and people will eventually come back and buy good banking issues. In particular, some of them you mentioned, Metrobank. We believe Metrobank, Security Bank, and BDO should be good banking issues to watch out for.
Okay, and we have just about 2 to 3 more before we actually end the webinar and get some, takeaways or insights to leave before we leave or end the session. Let's see here. Okay, so the big question, so what's the advantage of AB Capital's online platform versus others?
Okay. The advantage of AB Capital Online is the system. No, it's as I've said earlier, it's our system provider's technical stack, and posting in AB Capital Online takes you only around 2 to 3 seconds, and we are backed by a company of with more than 60 years of experience in stock trading.
Okay, and hopefully, and hopefully, Jill, that answers your question. And I know we mentioned about online transfers and cash deposits earlier, but just to make sure, Rodrigo's asking, well, he's from Surigao, and
Yes.
cash deposits to his account is made through Metrobank, but he's asking, is there a way for online fund transfer from his BPI account? Should be.
Yeah, we have an account with BPI, and all he has to do is go to his bank and apply for an online fund transfer to our account.
Okay, Rodrigo. And lastly, of course, from Roberto, will there be other webinars that will be more basic, especially for the beginners? I believe, Jovis, this was the one that we had the first time, but are you going to have more basic webinars?
We will, Jam. The next webinar that we will be having would involve basic financial analysis and probably valuation. And this would be followed by subsequent webinars. But the immediate next webinar would be that. No?
Okay, and just to follow up, is there an estimated schedule for your next webinar so that, they would at least put that into the calendar to make sure that they attend?
We have to check. Right now, probably in a month or two, I guess. But just check on our website. We will be posting the schedule for the next webinar.
Okay, so, and of course in your screens, everyone, you are seeing abcapitalonline.com or of course abcapitalsecurities.com.ph. So just for any announcements. And just a few comments. Oh yes, Russell, he said learned a lot and many thanks, but he is asking, will the attendees be given a soft copy of the presentation?
No.
Yeah, I think this presentation is being recorded, no? And we will post this seminar in few days from now.
Okay, perfect. Yep, we are definitely recording this, and the team, of course, at AB Capital will let you know when it's available on the website for you to access and, of course, watch again. So thank you, Jovis, Bert, and Rick. Is there anything that you would like to tell the audience before we end the session for tonight?
Well, we just want to thank everyone who attended the webinar. And we hope you learned, no? And watch out for my webinars. As I mentioned, the next one would involve a follow-up of the fundamental analysis part, which would deal with how to analyze the financials statements and how to value companies. So watch out for that.
Definitely,
Meet,
we are. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Thank you, everyone, and we are looking forward to seeing you online. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bert, anything to add?
Just wanted to thank all the attendees for joining us this evening, and we hope to be able to have all of you at least try out our website for our online trading platform. We also want to inform you that we're not only an online trading brokerage, we are also a traditional brokerage where we also handle broker-assisted regular trading accounts. If you have any questions, just visit our website and email us for any queries or questions you may have. Again, thank you, and thank you, Pam.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, no problem. And we are getting some comments, obviously, from Randy, Saturnino, and the other attendees saying thank you, AB Capital. They've learned a lot, and thank you as well for today's learning. They're very appreciative of you actually organizing this webinar for them. So to everyone, again, thank you on behalf of AB Capital. My name is Cham Mayer, and in order to leave the webinar room, all you have to do is just click on File and leave webinar. Good night, everyone. And stay safe, by the way. I've been looking at the news lately about the flooding, but I hope stay safe and dry.
Jam?
Yep, we're just waiting for everyone to leave the room. Let me just. Huh? I can hear Jarvis. Okay. Ellie, sorry, go right ahead.
And I just want to say thank you. Thank you